when I remember how much love I received from the Jewish people here in the United States when I came, how they became my own family, after I lost my real family, how much they made me feel safe and keep standing on my feet to continue fighting the fight that we all have to fight for good with dignity. And I'm so grateful. All I remember is gratitude. I don't care about the price being paid, because I did this knowing that there will be consequences, but I was compelled to stand up for the good, which is Israel, against the evil, which is Hamas. So there was no other option. Ironically, October 7 was the day that did not only turn the Middle East upside down, but it also turned my personal life upside down, for nothing other than being one of the very rare voices in the region who publicly condemned Hamas terrorism against Israeli people on that horrible day. And at a time, unfortunately, when October 7 enabled all the bad actors in the region, including bad governments and also bad groups like the Muslim Brotherhood and the Salafists, the extremists, to come to the surface and dominate the mainstream. So it was a tough day, but the main thing I remember, actually reflecting back, I don't know, there is a sense of naivety. We were so naive. I mean, by we, the people who believed in having peace in the Middle East, having real peace. For a moment, we had this beautiful taste of this peace for a couple of years after the signing of the Abrahamic Accords. Relationships with Israel changed. Israel all of a sudden became not ashamed to call itself part of the Middle East. Everyone started to look at Israel as an integral part of the Middle East, as it is, as it deserves to be, actually. I mean, the Israeli people are more Middle Eastern than all of us, to be honest, in the region. I'm speaking as an Egyptian as well. So it's important. It was a nice moment that we hoped will continue. And I was one of the people that thought, okay, finally, the work we've bought on for so many years, now we are harvesting the fruit of it. But unfortunately, it all flipped all overnight. I remember on October 7, actually, October 7, 2023, I was jet lagged. I didn't sleep that night because 2 days before, I was in Washington, D.C., speaking at a conference at the Atlantic Council about peace in the Eastern Mediterranean, and speaking about all the amazing collaborations between Israel and the Eastern Mediterranean countries like Turkey and Egypt, and how this can be a new era for the Middle East, for the Eastern Mediterranean, and for all of us. And it took only 2 days. It took Hamas only 2 days to prove us wrong.
Dalia, you mentioned that all of the bad actors came to the surface on and around October the 7th in the Middle East. They also came to the surface in the Western world, in Europe and right here in the United States. Were you surprised by the degree to which Hamas found support in Europe and especially in the United States? And if so, what's your diagnosis for the reasons why?
Oh my God, yes, of course. I was shocked, and not only surprised, I was shocked. Although I've been following the work of the Muslim Brotherhood and radical Islamism in Western countries for many years, but I thought at the end of the day their influence was limited, maybe to Muslim communities, maybe to which are minority in the majority of Western countries. Maybe they have an influence on radical left youth or so, but it's also limited. I did not imagine in any way, in my worst dreams, in my worst nightmares, that there will be a day when these people will be the ones dictating policy making in Western countries and forcing leaders, like as we saw recently in European countries, to make decisions like recognizing a Palestinian state or forcing or dictating foreign policy issues on their leaders in these countries that only emboldens and supports Hamas, Iran, and all the terrorists in the Middle East rather than fighting against them. And I think I'm sorry to say that they are winning. Unfortunately, these bad guys are winning in the West for several reasons. One main reason of them is that they created or they were successful in achieving systematic infiltration into the cultural fabric of these Western societies. And that's why, by the way, that's why they hate the Jews so much, because the Jewish people in the West are the only area in this Western fabric that they cannot infiltrate into, because the other area is mostly post-God. So it's easy for them to manipulate, to play with. They don't have a sophisticated culture that brings them together. It's different for the Jewish people. Although they are a minority in these countries, they are not the large numbers, but they are the strongest culture, the strongest cultural cohesion, glue, let's say, that is keeping the West standing on its feet until now. That's why we are seeing all this fight by these extremists against the Jews in the Jewish people in Western societies. And of course, it was a golden opportunity for them to use what happened on October 7 and then the retaliatory war that Israel started against Hamas in Gaza after that as an excuse to target the Jews in the West. And we ended up with this horrible situation where these radicals are the people who are now driving Western decision making.
Dalia, you've now mentioned the Muslim Brotherhood twice already in our conversation. ISCAP, the organization that we're both connected to, is making it a priority to try and focus attention, educate about the Muslim Brotherhood, and get governmental action in Washington against the Muslim Brotherhood. Why do you consider this to be such an important policy issue now?
Absolutely. Actually, there is a huge misunderstanding of who the Muslim Brotherhood are and what they want to achieve in Western policy-making circles. Many look at them as the solution, as the good alternative to other groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, more extremist Salafi jihadist groups. But what they don't know is that the Muslim Brotherhood, it's true they did not engage directly into, as the Muslim Brotherhood leadership, the mind of the Muslim Brotherhood, like the head, did not engage directly in these terrorist activities, but they created the platform for them, created the ideology that justified them, and empowered them either through political coverage or through political justification in Western countries, or even with collecting donations for them. So the Muslim Brotherhood are master manipulators. They know very well how to do their goals of jihadism and achieving that without having their hands shown in the scene of terrorism being done. We saw also in recent decades that the Muslim Brotherhood did not only play the role of being the political cover or the sponsor or the force behind all these terrorist organizations, but it also had its own terrorist organizations like Hasm. Hasm, it's a group similar to Hamas in Egypt. It's a militant group that appeared in Egypt in the 1910s after the Arab Spring. And they are still operating, but on a very limited scale now. And also, we shouldn't forget that they have Hamas, the most notorious terrorist organization that we know today. So all of that has to be told to the decision makers in Western countries in a way that makes them convinced that the Muslim Brotherhood are the source of the evil, are the head of the octopus, and it has to be hit hard in order to solve the big problem of terrorism, ideological terrorism in our world today.
So Dalia, following up on that, I want to focus on two aspects. One, organizations here in the United States. There are a number of experts who claim that groups like the Council on American Islamic Relations, Students for Justice in Palestine, American Muslims for Palestine, are themselves offshoots or somehow connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. Yet, to say this or to raise the issue triggers the response of Islamophobia, racism. That's one aspect. How does one deal with that? The second aspect is state sponsors of Muslim Brotherhood. Again, many experts point to two countries in particular, both countries with close ties to Washington, Qatar and Turkey. Again, how does one deal with it? Dalia Ziada, help us understand how to deal with the organizations that claim Islamophobia and the countries that say, but we're your best friends.
Yeah, it is the biggest dilemma for why until today the Western policymakers in most Western countries are unable to designate the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization, despite the fact that many Arab countries has already done this.
Including Egypt.
Exactly, and including Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and others.
And most recently Jordan.
And most recently Jordan, that's right. And why they did that? Because they saw the evil of the Muslim Brotherhood firsthand. The Muslim Brotherhood in this country is a well-defined entity. You can point at and say, okay, this from here to here is the Muslim Brotherhood. In the West, the Muslim Brotherhood operate in a different manner. They don't operate as a one coherent entity, one monolithic entity that you can refer to, but they operate through networks of businesses, networks of civil society organizations, networks of charity organizations, and so on. So from outside, if you look at these networks, you will say, okay, it's only an organization like CARE, for example. You will look at it and say, it's only a civil society organization. Why would anyone be concerned about it? But when you look deeper, you will see that, and it's not a claim we are making. You will see that they are ideologically aligned with everything the Muslim Brotherhood wants to achieve in the West, and was written very clearly in their project document that was discovered there. I mean, the Muslim Brotherhood document that's called the project and the explanatory memorandum. These are documents written in the 1980s and 1990s that were discovered and revealed in the Holy Land Foundation trial in 2008, wherein CARE, MSA, and other groups, student groups that from which came the Students for Justice in Palestine today, which actually it's this mutation game the Muslim Brotherhood has done on several levels, but to have a certain name for an organization and then change it to another name over time when this name expires but it's the same organizations. In these documents, in this Holy Land Foundation trial, these organizations were named unindicted perpetrators,
co-conspirators.
Yes, exactly. So they are. I mean, it's not a claim. When you say that
you're saying it's a fact.
Muslim,
you're saying it's a fact.
When you say they are a Muslim Brotherhood, they are. So this is one thing. The other thing is that they, in order to protect themselves against any criticism or anyone who wants to hold them accountable, they played the game of Islamophobia, which is a very clever game, by the way. They looked at, anti-Semitism, and they made another copy of it, an Islamic copy of it, and they said, okay, we're hated for being Muslims, but this is absolutely wrong. Of course, Islamophobia exists. I'm not denying it. Unfortunately, I experienced it myself. But the thing is that there is a differentiation. Islamophobia is not anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is hate of the Jews just for being Jewish. They hate you just for being Jewish. And not only hate, they are ready to harm you just for being Jewish. This is anti-Semitism. Islamophobia is different. Nobody hates Muslims for just being Muslims. They hate the behavior of the Muslims in these Western countries. There is a huge difference here. They hate the fact that there are a bunch of Muslims, hundreds, who would stand in the middle of the street and just start praying in the middle of the street and paralyze their life. They hate that. They hate the fact that there are people who cover themselves with bombs and go into metro stations or bus stations and kill other innocent people in the name of Islam. They hate that. Of course, and I, as a Muslim, I hate that too. I'm against that. This does not make me Islamophobic. This does not make anyone who refuses that Islamophobic. But there are people who cannot differentiate between ordinary Muslims, good Muslims, and the bad ones who claim that they are doing all this terrorism in the name of Islam. Where and why Islamophobia became so popular recently, I think it has very much to do with the state sponsors of the Muslim Brotherhood, and I would say the Muslim Brotherhood ideology in the West, who are Turkey and Qatar, as you mentioned, David. And the problem here is that, unfortunately, these two countries specifically are very good with playing this duplicity game with the West. On one side, they appear like friends to the West. Turkey is a NATO ally. Qatar hosts the biggest military base for the United States in the Middle East. So they appear as friends. They appear as if they are good allies to the Western countries, to the United States, but from behind the scene, or not actually, they are not even hiding it. On the other side, they just look the other side and they show their real face to their people, like either in Arab or Muslim context or so, who are very sympathetic to these radical ideas. And they fund these Muslim Brotherhood ideologically aligned groups. They support them, they work with them, they even provide them with the political coverage they need to do what they do, to do the evils that they do. And look at Al Jazeera, how Al Jazeera whitewashed Hamas over the past 2 years and turned it from being a terrorist organization to a freedom fighter victim people. You know, it's insane when you think about it.
So, Dalia, let me ask you this. To fast forward, recently President Trump announced his plan for ceasefire alongside the Israeli Prime Minister, who was visiting in Washington. During that press conference, President Trump went out of his way on multiple occasions to praise Qatar, even going so far as to say, I think I'm Qatar's PR agent. Do you happen to know whether, as part of those conversations, President Trump has convinced Qatar to curtail Al Jazeera, to stop being a home to Hamas, to stop peddling the Muslim Brotherhood, or do you think he was being played by Qatar as Qatar's played every other Western leader so well?
Actually, I think it is the opposite. I think it is President Trump playing Qatar his own way. We should not forget that President Trump is a very smart businessman. He understands the language spoken in the region, not Arabic language, I mean, but the language of making deals, personal relationships, praising certain leaders. Actually, the other day he was praising the Egyptian president publicly. It made me laugh because I understand what he's doing. He is playing them the way he knows very well it will get to them, because this is how our region, and he understands them. He understands this one-on-one deals, how they are being made, and so I believe what's happening right now is that President Trump actually he offered a very good plan. If you look at the 20 points or the 21 from before points on paper, they are great. And the best thing about it is that it is a long-term plan. It's not about Gaza. It's not about this ceasefire. It's about what will happen in the region after that for many years to come. And it's coming from a place that positions the United States as a partner to the region, to the entire region, not only as a partner to Israel. So this is good in this aspect. On the other side, he needs to, I don't want to use like a very strong word, but let's say play with the leaders who can really, the leaders in the region, whether he likes them or not, it doesn't matter. He wants to play with them in order to move things forward. So it seems to me that he is trying to provide them incentives to show them that he is coming from a friendly position to make this happen. And actually, it seems that it is working. For the first time, we are seeing the three main countries that supported Hamas for so long are pressuring Hamas to disarm and give up its arms. I'm speaking about Turkey, Egypt, and Qatar. Al Jazeera yesterday, it was like, I had chills when I was reading it.
By the way, yesterday meaning October 6th, because we'll be showing this in a few days' time.
Yeah, on October 6th, Al Jazeera made a post on their Twitter account saying that, actually quoting a former Egyptian diplomat, saying that it's time for Hamas to disarm and to leave Gaza, to leave the politics in Gaza. This is
a change for Egypt, isn't it?
This is, I know, and this is what?
This is a change for Egypt.
This is a change for Egypt's position, Qatar's position, Turkey's position. So for the first time, Hamas is pressured by its three main state sponsors or state supporters, let's say. Now I think the plan is working. Maybe for people looking from outside at the plan or at the way President Trump is running it, they may think, okay, oh my God, Qatar, bought him or something. But it's not like that. Actually, it's the opposite. He's the one who knows how to play the game with them, and he's playing it really well so far. I'm always optimistic, and more optimistic even after Israel's success in fighting against all the evil forces in the region in the aftermath of October 7. And I would say fighting single-handedly against all the evil forces in the region. No other country in the region helped Israel in this war. Everyone was watching. Everyone was standing on the side watching and even stoning Israel while doing that. So this is making me optimistic more than anything. Our region is going to change to the better. I have no doubt, for no other reason than Israel.
And the Abraham Accords, or as President Trump now says, the Abraham Accords, do you think they will expand as a result?
I hope so. I think it's inevitable. It will expand. They will expand. The Abraham Accords will expand no matter what. It's only a matter of time. We just need to recover from this little obstacle in the way, and then we will go back. I mean, look at the history of the Middle East. It's thousands of years. So we are speaking about like just 2 years in these thousands of years.
So Dalia Ziada is an optimist.
We will recover.
You're an optimist.
I am.
Okay.
I am, yes.
And what about the personal price you've paid?
Actually, at the beginning, it was very hard, David. My whole life literally came upside down. But later on, when I look, at this now, when I remember how much love I received from the Jewish people here in the United States when I came, how they became my own family, after I lost my real family, how much they made me feel safe and keep standing on my feet to continue fighting the fight that we all have to fight for good with dignity. And I'm so grateful. All I remember is gratitude. I don't care about the price being paid because I did this knowing that there will be consequences, but I was compelled to stand up for the good, which is Israel, against the evil, which is Hamas. So there was no other option.
Dalia, I can't imagine a more uplifting, inspiring note on which to end this interview with thanks to you, not just for your time, but much more for your example of courage, of leadership, of principle, of integrity. Thank you, Dalia.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you also for being one of the people who stood by my side when my world was collapsing. Thank you so much.
Well, believe me, it was an honor. And JBS viewers, you've heard once again from the remarkable Dalia Ziada. And if you are looking yourselves for inspiration and for optimism and for reasons to believe in the future, I think Dalia, both by her example and by what she has said, has given us a lot of good food for thought. JBS viewers, I'm David Harris. This is Defending Israel, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.